And this, of course, would be Bernard Hopkins, who is being reseated now. He was just looking out toward the crowd, much of which remembers the victory here over their favorite, Felix Trinidad, almost exactly 3 years ago at Madison Square Garden, here at the Garden, and they were getting on your case, Bernard.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a great appreciation for Bernard. I expected this, and, you know, it's all good, as long as nothing happened physically, but Trito got a lot of fans here, and Bernard Hopkins made history in this same building, and couldn't get a better applause coming in.
So you're soaking it up.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I love it. I mean, I like to perform not only in the ring, but I mean, I like to come out and have fun too and promote it. You see, I got up, I pulled my belt buckle up, I showed them my arms, I did the X sign. They love it.
Lennox Lewis is, of course, here as well, so we can join in on the conversation. We're going to show you some of the press conference and weigh-in activity between Mayorga and Trinidad in a bit, but since Bernard is here, we might as well take the opportunity. The afterglow continues following the victory over De La Hoya. Boxing people knew how good you were. The general public knows it now. You're almost 40 years old. It took that long for the general public to know what you were about.
I mean, that's true. I mean, better late than never. I mean, I've been craving this for, I guess, 8 or 9 years. But sometimes things don't happen the way you want it. You don't get the publicity when you think you deserve it. But you know, what better way to receive it at the level that I am right now? And you know, I gained a lot of fans in the last, I'd say, 6 months to a year. And like I said earlier, better late than never. I believe that when I leave the game, people will respect me more and will appreciate me when I'm going. It's always like that, but I guess with athletes that come along, that really is controversial in the ring and out of the ring, and not for negative, for positive things. But I'm glad to get the respect that I'm getting now. And hey, I mean, I'm still active, I'm still young. I'm the last of the Mohicans. My man Lennox Lewis retired. Roy Jones didn't have a great night last week, and I'll be 40 in January, so I'm glad to keep up the senior citizen of boxing.
Lennox?
That's what I was gonna say. You know, you were saying me and you were the oldest boxers in boxing. How do you feel now? Now you're the oldest boxer in boxing.
Well,
what are you gonna do?
There's still Evander Holyfield, though
yes.
most of his public wishes he would step aside.
So that's the difference. I mean, how do I feel being really the oldest guy on this top level? And I think that's what Lennox is asking, is that even in his age, he was on the top level of the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Right now, I'm on the top of the level of the undisputed middleweight champion of the world, but really the oldest fighter on top right now. How do I feel, Lennox? I feel like I better get the big fights now, early, and go off in the sunset like Lennox Lewis did before Father Time catch up with Bernard Hopkins.
Well, surveying the field, there's always a possibility of a big money rematch with Oscar De La Hoya.
Or Tito Trinidad.
Or Tito Trinidad.
I'm not here for nothing.
Or Mayorga, if he were to win tonight.
Correct.
Or Winky Wright is on that list.
It's definitely 4 or 5 good fights out there for Bernard Hopkins.
Sugar Shane Mosley, maybe?
Sugar Shane Mosley. Felix Stern, who's put a good account on himself. I mean, he's at the end of the names you just mentioned, but he's still a credible a contender that sold well when he fought Oscar June 5th. But those names you just mentioned are guys that, you know, can easily upset anybody, and it would be a great challenge. 20 defenses, I'm 1 away from 20, and that's a legacy itself. I don't want to do that 20 with any old body. I want to do it with somebody that brings some merit and some credibility to that 20 defense title.
Assuming you continue to win, how many more fights do you think Bernard Hopkins has in his future?
I think about 5 or 6 fights.
That many?
Yes. I mean, but when I say 5, fight 3 times next year, providing everything go well, and come back and fight in 2005 and call it a day.
That's a long day.
I'm starting to feel little aches and pains in the back, so I think I should be out of there within 4 or 5 fights.
Let's talk about this fight. How do you see it?
I see this fight being like 2 cowboys drawing at the same time, and whoever get hit in the right spot will actually be knocked out. The first 4 rounds is going to be Hagler and Hearns. I mean, I was telling one of the guys from HBO, Ross Greenberg, is that I think the first 3 rounds of this fight, it's going to be Hagler and Hearns all over, because these guys don't know how to back up. I don't think they haven't been taught to be able to take a step back and actually box and buy time for later on.
Are you saying there's going to be a knockout?
It's going to be knocked down first, and then a knockout. It's going to be knocked down first and then a knockout.
But if you're Tito, even though your tendency might be to brawl, aren't you better advised to try and keep your distance and box, at least in the early stages?
Well, he would try that until the leathers start touching each other, and they would go back to what they used to doing, and that's defending themselves at a high level. Tito Trinidad has been working on little things here and there, I heard, but he's going to always go back when it's time to stand up and hold his ground and make a statement. Trinidad is coming out here making a big statement amongst his crowd. He's in New York, what he had with me 3 years ago.
Right here.
A bad experience, so he wants to come out and redeem himself all across the board. Mayorga is going to try to derail that.
Very briefly, what effect do you see the 2.5-year layoff having here?
A great effect on Tito. One is because when you take off that long and then come back and fight a guy like Mayorga, I mean, I think that's a brave thing itself. There's a lot of other fights he could have took, and it would have been just as crowded here if he'd have fought Joe Smuck to get back on time. And we would have let him go. We would have let him get that pass.
Who would that theoretical fighter be? Was it? Was it? No,
if he wants to fight the
the guy you made up. Did I hear you right?
Yes.
Joe Smuck. Yeah, there you go. All right. Just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, Joe Smuck.
He's not ranked. According to Ring Magazine, Joe Smuck not ranked. Is that correct?
Joe Smuck never be ranked.
It's not TV. It's HBO. Let's take a look back at some of the oh, we're going down to Jim Lampley. My mistake. Let's go to Lamps ringside.
Bernard Hopkins, so reticent, so shy, so difficult to get him to make anything like a categorical observation. All right, let's right now, in company with Larry Merchant and Roy Jones, set up Trinidad Mayorga a little bit more graphically by taking a look at some of their most significant fights, the fights that have brought them to this juncture tonight. And the guys will be working with me right now as we go to videotape and take a look at Felix Trinidad moving up to middleweight in May of '01. This was his first fight at 160 pounds. Roy Jones, Joppy himself said, I don't think he's a true middleweight. Therefore, Joppy was willing to trade with him. And in round one, Trinidad seemed to prove that he was at least a true middleweight.
Yeah, Joppy didn't realize the punching power that Tito had. When he found out, it surprised him. And before he knew it, he was sleeping.
He had already gotten himself into a slugfest with Trinidad. It was impossible at this point to reverse the flow of the fight. And Felix managed to show immediately that at least against William Joppy, he was more than capable of occupying the middleweight division.
Yeah, Joppy put all his marbles in the fact that Tito was not going to be big enough to handle him. And he was so wrong.
One question becomes, did Trinidad, off of this fight, Larry Merchant, perhaps get a false sense of security about his ability to handle the 160-pound weight class?
Perhaps, but I think the biggest implication was that Bernard Hopkins saw this fight, saw that Trinidad could carry his punch into the middleweight division, and decided to box him in the way that he wound up doing to his benefit. Another implication of this was that Joppy said afterwards, when Joppy was a real pro, that when he got hit by Trinidad, he felt something he had never felt before. And that may have led to the controversy about how Trinidad taped his hands.
Could Trinidad's taping of his hands been significant in the way he knocked out Joppy, Roy?
It could have been significant, but it wasn't all that much difference because although he had on a cast, he still had to deliver the punch. And the taping, they say, is very cast-like when he fights, but, you know, I still think he would have knocked Joppy out anyway because Joppy had underestimated the punching power, the ability of Trinidad to bring the punching power up and weight with him.
4 months and 4 weeks later, Trinidad didn't look as much like a middleweight as Bernard Hopkins somehow managed to make him look smaller and less substantial in the ring. How did that happen, Roy?
Because Bernard is a bigger middleweight than Joppy was. Bernard also neutralized his punching power with his own punching power. Joppy didn't punch as hard as Trinidad did. Hopkins does.
One thing that happened in this fight, from my eyes, Larry, is that the puncher, Trinidad, learned from Hopkins that maybe his skills and his craft weren't as well-rounded or as varied as he might have thought.
Well, he had been very, very successful using whatever style he had, so there's no reason for him to change even if he could. But also what Hopkins did was to follow the blueprint laid down by Oscar De La Hoya in the first half of the Trinidad fight, showing that you could box the puncher.
For any who had doubted Bernard Hopkins, this was the night when they learned how complete his game was and how strong he was as a middleweight. All of the punishment in the first 11 rounds led eventually to the right hand that crumpled Trinidad in the 12th. And when Trinidad was able to get up and beat the count, his father, Felix Trinidad Sr., came into the ring to be certain that Steve Smoger was not going to let it go any further. But retirement did not come after that loss to Hopkins. There was yet another fight to take place against relative non-entity Hassan Sharifi in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Were there any signs that you saw in this fight, Roy Jones, that Trinidad had lost something that he might have recognized that night en route to the decision to retire?
Well, he felt like he started getting hit probably more because he got hit with some punches from this guy that he shouldn't have got touched with. And when you start feeling that, it makes you wonder, should I still be doing this or should I give it up now?
When you win 30-some-odd fights in a row and then suddenly lose one as one-sidedly as was the case against Hopkins, does it destroy your confidence?
Yes, it does destroy your confidence sometimes, especially when you're used to beating everybody. Your first loss could be a real bad situation for you.
Your take on Trinidad Sharifi at this point of his career, Larry?
I think he wanted to show that he could come back from the beating he took, and if he was going to retire, it was going to be after a victory, which would lay the groundwork for retirement, which I think he meant sincerely, but also for a comeback when he woke up one day and decided just as sincerely that he wanted to fight again.
If there was any diminution in Trinidad's talents or his ability to be effective in the ring, it certainly wasn't recognized by the rabid crowd in San Juan, where, of course, Felix is sacrosanct as a Puerto Rican hero, and as he pummeled Sharifi en route to the ultimate knockout, his fans were standing and cheering and surely expecting that this was the revitalization of his career that would precede many more trips into the ring for big fights and perhaps even ultimately a rematch against Hopkins to try to regain his title at 160 pounds. But ultimately, a few months after this performance, Trinidad surprisingly announced to the boxing world that he had decided to leave the sport, and now nearly 30 months have passed since the fight against Sharifi. When first Trinidad announced that he was coming out of retirement to fight, the speculation was that it was for a fight against Oscar De La Hoya. But ultimately, that deal couldn't be made. Tentatively, Trinidad made a deal to fight against Sugar Shane Mosley. But then Mosley lost to Winky Wright. And after that, Trinidad turned to option 3 and made this fight against Ricardo Mayorga. And eyebrows were raised, because in the view of many, Mayorga is the most dangerous opponent Trinidad could possibly have chosen coming back from a 2.5-year layoff. Let's take a look at the reason why. The boxing world got its first real mass introduction to the barely controlled violence of Mayorga when he was an underdog against Vernon Forrest on the night before the Super Bowl in '03. This one was the Vernon Forrest who had twice embarrassed Shane Mosley. Everybody expected him to outbox Mayorga. Instead, Roy Jones, it became a slugfest when Forrest was ruled to have been knocked down at the end of round 1, didn't like the knockdown ruling, and came out and decided to try to make a statement in round 2.
Yeah, he came out and fought the wrong fight. He came out and fought Mayorga's fight, and this is what gave Mayorga a chance in his very first fight.
Forrest landed some big punches right on the button in this second round, Larry.
Those same punches put Mosley down. They didn't seem to affect Ricardo Mayorga. He has never been knocked down.
So then Vernon Forrest found himself betwixt and between. Having chosen to fight what amounted to Ricardo Mayorga's fight, he could have gone back to his corner between rounds 2 and 3, once again reassessed, and decided to come back out and try to make it a boxing match. But having landed as many big punches as he did in the second round, maybe he figured, Roy Jones, that he had Mayorga where he wanted him.
He did. He thought he had Mayorga worn down and that he could go ahead and take him out because he hurt Mayorga with a few shots. And he thought, being the puncher that he is, he thought that definitely he would eventually get Mayorga and get him out of there.
But watch the chopping right hand over the top right there, which knocked Forrest momentarily senseless. And when he got up, referee Marty Denkin ruled that Forrest was not steady enough on his feet to go forward. There was a mild protest from the Forrest corner, but most of us at ringside felt not a bad choice on Denkin's part. And suddenly, Ricardo Mayorga had the welterweight championship. But of course, Forrest wanted a rematch, and later that summer, he got it. If it was shocking that Mayorga knocked Forrest out in their first fight, it was maybe even more surprising to some, Roy Jones, that Mayorga was able to earn a decision over the course of 12 rounds in their second fight.
Yeah, it was surprising to everybody because you expected that he could land a big punch and get a knockout, but you never expected the puncher that Mayorga is with his style of fighting that he would outbox a boxer and win a 12-round decision.
You know, many people, I think, are a little surprised at some of the fights that have gone the distance with Mayorga because of his famous lifestyle. And they think that the way he trains or doesn't train, that if you get him into the late rounds, he is not going to have the stamina to go on. But I have found, Jim, some human beings are just stronger than other human beings, and they can get away with almost anything for a few years.
Well, George Foreman, watching this fight, openly said, I don't think he really drinks and smokes. I think he's lying. If he drank and smoked, he wouldn't be able to fight like this over the course of 12 rounds. But maybe he's just more unusual than other people. He kept swinging away, throwing big punches, and though Forrest boxed more effectively in the second round or the second half of the fight, ultimately Mayorga was able to land enough big ones and able to keep Forrest off of him enough to gain the decision in this fight. Forrest wasn't terribly happy about it, but the fight was certainly close enough to have gone either way, and Mayorga never tired, Roy.
Never did, because he has very strong mental strength. He's one of the mentally toughest guys you'll ever meet. He doesn't believe nobody can beat him. He doesn't believe people can hurt him. And he let Vernon hit him with his best punch. And Vernon was known as pound for pound, the strongest punching welterweight in the division for a while. He dropped his hands and said, here, since you punch so hard, knock me out.
Then Mayorga, perhaps thinking he was unbeatable, took on consummate southpaw boxer Corey Spinks on December 13th. And within the first few rounds, it became clear that Spinks was able to dodge most of Mayorga's big shots, and Larry, that he had a plan.
Well, Spinks is a slick left-handed fighter. I thought there was very officiating in this fight, that Spinks went down because he was trying to escape and was touched, and that these two knockdowns were not counted. Thought it was a much closer fight, that a champion might have gotten the benefit of the doubt since he was the aggressor throughout, but he lost the fight to, again, a slick southpaw. He is not facing a slick southpaw tonight, and that slick southpaw is the only fighter in 5 years who has beaten Mayorga.
Was there an adjustment within Mayorga's skill set that he might have made in this fight, Roy Jones, that would have given him a better chance?
No, because with Corey being the boxer that he is, he could not have tricked Corey into trading with him. Mayorga needs for you to trade with him to have the best opportunity to win the fight.
And one of the things he does to try to trick and goad fighters into trading with them is to break them down mentally before the fight as a quote machine. If his quotes were in English, he'd appear on SportsCenter more than any other fighter because they are Tyson-esque. For instance, before the second fight with Forrest, after I beat Vernon, I'm going to take his mother to Managua to have her clean up my backyard. He didn't say anything about taking Spinks' mother to Managua, nor did he get the opportunity to say anything after the fight because ultimately Spinks got the decision. However, as Larry Merchant points out, had not 2 penalty points been ruled against Mayorga without warning early in the fight, and had either of the 2 trips to the canvas by Corey Spinks that were ruled slips been ruled a knockdown, it would have been Mayorga who wound up the winner on the scorecards rather than the other way around. Since then, a fight against Eric Mitchell at the middleweight limit of 160 pounds, and in that fight, Mayorga was not as devastating a power puncher as had been the case at 147. So that's certainly part of the question tonight. What happens now at the 160-pound weight limit for the man who was such a devastating puncher at 147? Roy, do you think it'll make a big difference?
No, I don't. The only thing that may be different is his conditioning, but I don't think it'll make much difference. The real problem he has is, can he deal with Tito's punching power?
And what about Tito coming back from a 2.5-year layoff, Larry?
Well, there are a lot of factors involved in a comeback. We have to, one of the big ones is he was 29, only 29 when he retired. I can't recall anything in modern times to parallel that when a fighter who is an elite fighter, a big crowd attraction, would retire of his own accord. All right. Bob Costas champing at the bit now after having had his appetite whetted by that long tape package. Bob, there's Felix warming up. What do you think?
Well, Jim, I think we ought to take this opportunity with the fight only a few minutes away to look back at some of the build-up and some of the antagonisms that have been displayed over the last few months in anticipation of this fight. Let's go back to a press conference in May in Las Vegas, and they're at one another. At one point, Trinidad called Mayorga a woman. Mayorga referred to Trinidad as a clown. Mayorga has a long history of challenging the manhood of his opponents, trying to get under their skin and get them to brawl with him rather than fight a more tactical fight. Later, it's Mayorga predicting a 9th-round KO. That's been the round in the recent past. De La Hoya and Roy Jones Jr. each fell in the 9th recently. Now the side bet, $100,000 being bet on the outcome. From the purse of the loser to the winner, $100,000. Trinidad will make $10 million for this fight. Mayorga is guaranteed $2.5 million. The betting line has Trinidad as a 2.5 to 1 favorite. At the weigh-in, Trinidad scaled 157 3/4 to Mayorga's 158. So after a 2.5-year layoff, Tito Trinidad is just minutes away from stepping into the ring against Ricardo Mayorga. And just a few moments ago, he spoke with Larry Merchant. Here it is.
Tito, how much did you miss the cheers of the crowd when you were away? And what will it mean to you walking out into the garden again tonight?
¿Cuánto te hizo falta la adulación del público y cuánto significará eso para ti hoy en día?
Bueno, de verdad que tener el público conmigo aquí, mucha gente, de verdad que eso es bien emocionante y gracias a todo el público por estar aquí conmigo hoy en el día de hoy, en mi regreso.
Having the public behind you, it's great, and I want to thank the public for being here for my return.
Can it be a burden as well as an inspiration to have so many of your countrymen behind you so fervently?
No puede ser un contra teniendo a tantas personas detrás de ti que quieren tanto en vez de una bendición.
No, yo creo que eso es una bendición y es algo que muchos quisieran que el público esté con ellos todo el tiempo.
No, not at all. It's a blessing because everyone would love to have that.
After being away from boxing for so long, how does it feel at this moment knowing that soon you're going to be back in the ring again?
Después de tanto tiempo fuera del ring, ¿cómo se siente sabiendo que entre breves minutos vas a estar otra vez en el ring?
No, me siento bien, me siento tranquilo por todo el trabajo duro que he hecho en el gimnasio y ya mismo me verán en acción.
It feels real good, and I've done a lot of work, and you'll see real soon what it's all about.
Can you take his punch? Can he take your punch?
¿Tú crees que tú puedes aguantar el poderío de él y podrá él aguantar el poderío tuyo?
Él no podrá aguantar mi poderío.
He won't be able to take my power. I'll take his.
Thank you, Tito. Good luck. Jim?
All right, and thank you, Larry. New York City, the focus of the boxing world tonight. A shot of the Chrysler Building in the foreground. Larry Merchant moving across to the other dressing room to speak with Ricardo Mayorga. You will notice right away that Mayorga is now a redhead, or maybe it's something closer to fuchsia. In the past, he has occasionally bleached his hair blonde. He told us yesterday that going as a redhead for this fight is something of a tribute to his mom, who colored her hair in the same fashion. And we'll leave the rest to Larry Merchant. Here he is with Mayorga.
Ricardo, the last time you fought, you were a blonde. Now you were a redhead. Why?
La última vez que peleaste fuiste rubio, ahora es pelirrojo. ¿Por qué?
Tengo que variar mi gusto.
I got to be different. You know, my tastes are different, so I got to be different.
Early in the week, you were saying you would knock him out in the 9th round. Then later I read you said the 5th round and then the 3rd round. What do you say tonight?
Hemos escuchado diferentes versiones que tú vas a noquear en el 9º, en el 5º asalto y ahora el 3er asalto.
No.
¿A qué se debe?
Confusión de que la gente es la que le pone tantas versiones, ¿verdad? Voy a noquear del 1º al 5º.
He goes, that's different versions that people, you know, play around with my predictions. But my prediction now is that between the 1st and the 5th round, I'm going to knock him out.
Can you take his punch? Can he take your punch?
¿Tú puedes aguantar el golpe de él? ¿Y también él puede aguantar el golpe tuyo?
Yo puedo aguantar el mío, no.
I can take his punch. He can't take mine.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Gracias y mucha suerte.
Jim?
All right, Larry, thanks again. So when Tito Trinidad said farewell to boxing in 2002, it seemed unlikely his sentiments were permanent. After all, Tito was just 29 years old, a decorated welterweight champion, and a hero, a huge hero, in his native Puerto Rico. But he also seemed physically battered and emotionally drained by his loss to middleweight champ Bernard Hopkins, and fought only once more before stepping aside. So it's taken a couple of years, but Trinidad now says he's re-energized and ready to face the top fighters in the world, starting tonight. Felix Trinidad is back, but after 29 months away from the ring, is he the same Tito we remember?
The pride of Puerto Rico stands on top of the boxing world.
Trinidad's unrelenting lead-fisted aggression produced spectacular knockouts of Fernando Vargas and William Jaffe.
Sensational performance by the greatest finisher in the sport.
And hard-fought decisions over Pernell Whitaker and Oscar De La Hoya.
De Puerto Rico!
But a devastating loss to Bernard Hopkins led to retirement, and now raises questions about how much of the old Tito remains. The swift, violent answers come tonight, as Trinidad returns not by taking a tune-up fight, but by facing a truly explosive and highly unpredictable former champion.
If you want to see street fighting, you are a Ricardo Mayorga fan.
Smoking slugger Ricardo Mayorga dethroned Vernon Forrest.
And Ricardo Mayorga has done it.
Only to be outboxed by Corey Spinks. But it's Mayorga's behavior out of the ring that's most strange and troubling. He was so overweight for his last fight, it had to be rescheduled in a different weight class. Mayorga nearly started a brawl when tonight's fight was announced. And next week, he's due back in a Nicaraguan court to face rape charges filed last month. They each rank as among the most crowd-pleasing destroyers of the last decade.
Every punch is thrown with knock you into next week conviction.
But what happens when they step into the ring together? And which versions of Felix Trinidad and Ricardo Mayorga will show up tonight? We find out next. And it's time for our main event, Tito Trinidad against Ricardo Mayorga. What does Trinidad bring back to the table after his long layoff? He doesn't start with a tune-up. He comes right out of the box to fight an active former champion in Mayorga, so we should find out very quickly. Trinidad versus Mayorga is being brought to you by HBO Pay-Per-View, the best in pay-per-view entertainment, brought to you by HBO. It's been 873 days since Felix Trinidad fought and beat Hassim Sharifi and then quit boxing. Few expected his return bout would be against an opponent any more difficult than Sharifi, but that's not the Trinidad plan. Instead, he goes right to the top of the Madison Square Garden marquee. The comeback plan starts with Ricardo Mayorga. El Matador is best known for his wins against Andrew Sixheads Lewis and his pair of victories against Vernon Forrest in winning the welterweight title. Tonight is a comeback of sorts for Mayorga as well, having lost that title by decision to Corey Spinks 10 months ago. And once again, we're rejoined by Lennox Lewis. One New York scribe this week described Ricardo Mayorga as a chain-smoking, beer-swilling fiend.
Well, boy, I hope he doesn't keep it up, because that's not good for boxing. It's a wrong message to send. You know, Mayorga's a great boxer. He's a whirlwind of punches. Kind of reminds me of Aaron Pryor's style. He comes at you. He's mentally tough, physically tough. We're in for an exciting fight, and I'm looking forward to it. But Mayorga's definitely a different type of boxer.
Tomorrow is Mayorga's 31st birthday. What kind of odds do you give that he'll have reason to celebrate?
He's got good odds. I mean, it's going to be a great fight, and the one with the best focus is definitely going to win the fight. And I'm sitting back not only as a commentator but a fan as well.
There is definitely an electric atmosphere here at Madison Square Garden. You can probably feel it as you watch at home. We can definitely feel it sitting here. So let's go back down ringside. Roy Jones Jr., Larry Merchant, and Jim Lampley. Lamps?
All right, thank you very much, Bob Costas, and let's get straight to the setup of the fight. Ricardo Mayorga has attracted a lot of attention for his home run, go-for-broke style. He's seen by many as a wild swinger. But can this wild and crazy guy, outside and inside the ring, disrupt the disciplined punching style of Felix Trinidad?
Jim, last week, Roy Jones met a fighter, Glenn Johnson, who seemed made to order for the old Roy Jones, but not for an old Roy Jones. Similarly, Mayorga seems made to order for the old Tito Trinidad, but is he made to order for the new or renewed Felix Trinidad? What we know about this fighter is that he'll take a few puffs of his cigarette, a few swigs of his favorite nourishment, and come out and fight like hell. And the winner will probably be the one who can take the other guy's punch better.
Yeah, because Mayorga certainly doesn't care about style points, and Felix isn't going to have the leeway to worry much about it in this fight. Let's turn to Roy Jones, who surely has his own ideas about whether he's old or not. But Roy, as you look at Felix Trinidad going in against Mayorga, what do you think he most has to worry about? And I'll give you three choices. Does he have to worry about the odd angles from which Mayorga's wild swinging punches come? Does he have to worry about his own ability after 2.5 years off to take Mayorga's punch? Or does he have to worry most about the 40 pounds that he put on during retirement and had to take off to get back into the ring?
I think he has to worry most about the 40 pounds that he put on during retirement. Coming back down in weight, it's been a proven thing that can be very difficult, especially when you're dealing with a guy who can punch like Mayorga. So he doesn't know his body well after gaining that 40 pounds. Now he gets to find out how well he can adapt, how well he adjusts. So tonight we'll find out if that 40 pounds has any bearing on how well he deals with Mayorga's punch.
Styles make fights. If ever there was a night when we expected a great, wildly entertaining slugfest, here we are. Tail of the tape for Felix Trinidad against Ricardo Mayorga. They are both 31 years old. A 2-inch height advantage for Trinidad. Slightly longer armed from the armpit to the end of the fist. The difference is a ½ inch. They both weighed in well under the 160-pound limit, and Mayorga, weighing in at 158, was wearing a sweatsuit, which may well have even had some coins or other weighted objects in the pockets. Tonight, unofficially, on our HBO scale, Mayorga has gone up to 165 pounds. Trinidad, 3 pounds heavier at 168. rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Felix Trinidad Ricardo Mayorga fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no 3 knockdown rule. The doctor or the referee can stop the fight. In case the cut is caused by an accidental headbutt, you go to the scorecards after 4 rounds have been completed, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
First fight at middleweight for Ricardo Mayorga. You rather suspect that Mayorga, for the right money under the right circumstances, would happily fight at heavyweight. If ever there was a guy who didn't much care about the niceties and technicalities of the sport, this is probably him. Just let me go in there and hit somebody.
He don't care who it is, what weight it is, how long he's been off, how long they've been off. He's just here to fight. He don't care. My kind of fighter.
Mayorga plays a confidence game. He puts his cards on the table. I'm here to fight. I'm here to swing away. What about you? What about the difficulty of fighting your fight, Larry, against a guy like this?
He makes your fight his fight, unless you're the kind of fighter that Corey Spinks was. And since Trinidad is not a mover, he will be happy to be there and try to take shots at the openings he's presented.
Not a lot of Nicaraguan fans here in the arena, but certainly many of Trinidad's Puerto Rican fans can appreciate and love the way Mayorga fights.
This is what Mayorga loves. He loves to be out here and be Mr. Bad Guy, the one that everybody hates. This is right down his alley.
He was the black hat in both fights against Vernon Forrest. And we showed you the loss to the boxer Corey Spinks. Spinks is here tonight, but he's sitting in about the 4th row, so he can't bedevil Mayorga with his boxing style anymore. And you hear the chant of the Puerto Rican crowd in Madison Square Garden. Here comes their man. If the question is, did absence make the hearts of boxing fans grow fonder? The answer is a noisily resounding yes.
Jim, I've never known an athlete who admitted as plainly as Tito that he absolutely loved the cheers of the crowd.
Boy Jones, boxing needs stars. There can be no more graphic demonstration than that Tito is a giant star.
Yes, he is. He has a whole country behind him, and that is one of the best things we can have in this sport. Anytime somebody comes to a game with an entire country behind him, it makes it very, very difficult for him to also take a step backwards.
Notable wins. 5 times he knocked Fernando Vargas down, but Vargas is one of several fighters to have knocked Trinidad down. He's tasted the canvas 8 different times in his career, as opposed to Mayorga, who insists to us and whose record apparently shows that he's never been knocked down. Was Trinidad ever knocked out? Yes. TKO by Hopkins in the 12th. Let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer to move the pageant forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we would like everyone to please rise for 3 national anthems. First of all, here to perform the national anthem of Nicaragua, please welcome Jose Jane.
Sardiadi, hermanos, tu glorioso pendón bicolor. Brilla hermosa la paz en tu cielo, nada empañe tu gloria inmortal, que el trabajo es tu digno laurel y el honor es tu enseña triunfal, es tu enseña triunfal.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem of Puerto Rico to be performed by international recording star, Mr. Bobby Cruz.
La tierra de Borinquen, donde he nacido yo, es un jardín florido de mágico primor, un cielo siempre nítido le sirve de dosel y dan arrullos plácidos las olas a sus pies. Cuando a sus playas llegó Colón, exclamó lleno de admiración: ¡oh, esta es la linda tierra que busco yo! Es Borinquen la hija del mar y el sol, 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 del mar y el sol.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing. At this time, from the United States Marine Corps, Lance Corporal Elizabeth A. Quiñones will sing the national anthem of the United States of America. The color guard in the ring is here courtesy of the 6th Communications Battalion out of Brooklyn, New York. That is the unit that Lance Corporal Quiñones also was serving. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for our national anthem.
So proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the streaming, and the rockets crackling, the bombs bursting in air, getting through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, stand
now, ladies and gentlemen, from the Mecca of sports and entertainment, Madison Square Garden, New York City, USA, Mr. Don King. And Don King Productions is proud to present the main event of the evening. Brought to you in association with the Struggle for Supremacy, the heavyweight blockbuster pay-per-view event on Saturday, November 13th from Madison Square Garden. This bout is sanctioned by the New York State Athletic Commission Chairman, Mr. Ron Scott Stevens. Commissioners at ringside, Jerome Becker and Mark Kornstein. The 3 judges at ringside scoring this contest on the 10-point system will be from Canada, Guy Jutra. From New York, Fred Ucci. From New Jersey, Steve Weisfeld. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action inside the ring, your referee, Steve Smoger. And now, with dedication to the members of the United States Armed Forces and the first in defense men and women of the emergency services, the firefighters, and the police department of the United States, this is the moment we've all been waiting for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black, official weight, 158 pounds. Professional record, 26 victories, including 22 knockouts, with 4 defeats and 1 draw. Damas y caballeros de Managua, Nicaragua, the former welterweight champion of the world, Ricardo El Matador Mayorga. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing burgundy, official weight, 157 3/4 pounds. Professional record, 31 victories, including 34 knockouts, with only 1 defeat. He is the former welterweight, former super welterweight, and former middleweight champion of the world, damas y caballeros, de Cupe Alto, Puerto Rico, Felix, Trinidad.
Entiendan las reglas. Toquen guantes, toquen.
A ver si va a seguir hablando ahora.
Touch the glove, go.
De La Hoya versus Hopkins didn't live up to its hype as the second coming of Hagler versus Leonard. This one might have a better chance of being a facsimile of Hagler versus Hearns.
It has taken quite some time to clear the ring, and because of all the pageantry, a great deal of time since the fighters entered the ring. In fact, Roy Jones, Ricardo Mayorga, has been in the ring for 14 minutes now before the first bell sounds. Could that be disruptive to him?
No, it won't bother him. You got to know that he's this type of guy. He's the one guy who will be ready for anything that happens tonight.
He landed a right hand over the top against Trinidad. Second right hand was a glancing blow. Trinidad hasn't really gotten off on offense. Mayorga is swinging already. Third right hand in a row. Left hook. Mayorga doesn't bother with jabs all that often. although as the fight goes on, he'll throw some often just to change the pace. But in round one, he likes to let you know that he's swinging for the fences.
And he wants you to know that he's knocking out, but Trinidad would be very smart to use his jab early so they can see some of the things that Mayorga is trying to do to him.
Tito has a long history of being unsteady on his feet early. As we mentioned, he's been knocked down 8 times in his career. Most of them were quick knockdowns in early rounds against lesser opponents, after which he got up and knocked the guy out. Here, he looks particularly unsteady on his feet. Mayorga doing most of the throwing. Felix doing some defending, but some catching. 2 body shots for Mayorga. Right hand over the top, and another. Trinidad just trying to get out of the first round and survive Mayorga's onslaught for the moment. Now Felix offers a left hand, taking advantage of a counterpunch opportunity. Mayorga looks as though he's just going to keep on coming.
Oh, he is. He's definitely going to keep coming. Good right hand by Tito.
Hard right hand lands on the button. Tito managed to take it. There's another one. What about the impact of Mayorga's punches, Roy?
They are definitely having an effect, but this is his first time at middleweight, so.
Now he takes Trinidad's left hook. And this is a Mayorga tactic. He drops his hands and says, come on, hit me. Did it with Forrest, does it here with Tito Trinidad.
He also told us it was a trick because when you can see the punches coming, you can take it.
Trinidad lands a straight right hand. And another right hand. And now Trinidad with the uppercut. Brings the left hook. Jab. Picks off Mayorga with another right hand. And now it's Mayorga who's taking the punishment.
Mayorga's tired. He don't carry his weight as good as he does the welterweight division.
If Tito was waiting for Mayorga to tire, it's an effective piece of tactics as he wobbles Mayorga down the stretch of round one. Mayorga didn't look good on his feet as the round came to a close.
Did anybody say Hadler Hearns?
I think so. I think Bernard Hopkins made that point.
Don't lower your hands. Don't do that. Don't. All right, everything calm. He knows he can't take your power. You're going to get him now.
After dominating almost the entire first round, at the end of the round, Trinidad got in his licks.
Who has the psychological advantage after round one, Roy?
Trinidad does, mainly because, like I said, this guy doesn't seem to take the same punch as a middleweight as he did as a welterweight. He doesn't seem like he's in shape when he fights at middleweight. He never breathed this hard during his earlier fights at welterweight.
Trinidad was devastatingly accurate down the stretch of round one. Wound up landing 29 out of 55 punches in the round. 25 of those 29 connects in the last minute of the round. Mayorga was 19 out of 84. Interesting round to score.
Now Mayorga is bleeding at the nose, so this is definitely a confidence killer.
And Trinidad is finding the target with his left hook. So Mayorga goes to his left hook. Body, then upstairs. Perfect counter left hand by Trinidad right up the pipe. Mayorga lands his left twice. Missed over the top with the right. Hard right hand by Trinidad. This time Mayorga takes it. Comes back with his own.
And Trinidad comes back with his own right hand.
Two hard right hands landed by Trinidad. Mayorga seems to be getting his sea legs under him with regard to taking Trinidad's punch. We're only halfway through round two. And already both fighters have taken several big power shots from their opponents. There's a big left hook by Trinidad. Mayorga reaching with the right hand. Now he gets closer to throw the right. And two solid shots from Tito.
He won't keep taking the E from Tito, I guarantee you.
After an unsteady first half of round one, Felix Trinidad clearly has warmed to the task. He's finding the target, countering effectively, picking his spots, landing when he wants to against Ricardo Mayorga. Mayorga's landing some big shots in return.
But Mayorga's definitely tired. If Tito beat his body a little bit, he'd definitely be better off in this fight.
Mayorga lands twice, the left and the right. Trinidad seems able to take Mayorga's punches now.
Good right hand.
And another. And another. Mayorga dropping his hands. Trinidad just firing away. Big left hand by Mayorga.
Big right hand by
Trinidad. And the left. So far, it is indeed the Hagler-Hearns of the new millennium. Let's see what happens in round three.
A remarkable round for Trinidad after such a long layoff to be able to stay in there at that pace.
The jab, Tito. Yeah, you got him. You tear him up. Deep breath. You're gonna kill him. Hey, you gotta use the jab and raise your hand. Raise your right hand. Try the uppercut. The left uppercut is gonna do it. Yeah. In the middle with the left uppercut.
Felix Trinidad has the superior technique, and in a rough, tough fight like this, perhaps that will be the difference.
And he landed a very good straight right lead in that rollback that you just saw. Very effective punch for him in this fight so far, his straight right hand.
And the 36 punches that Trinidad landed by CompuBox count in the second round are the most punches ever landed against Ricardo Mayorga in a single round in any of the fights CompuBox has tracked. Now we go to round three. It's been a furious, vicious, hard-fought first two rounds, both men getting their power shots in. But if Tito Trinidad continues to land 60% of his power shots, as was the case by CompuBox count in round two, it's hard to imagine him losing it.
And that was a good jab by Tito.
One of the things I'm noticing, because we asked Trinidad whether he had learned anything from the Hopkins fight, and he said, well, one or two little changes, is that he's moving a little better from side to side. He used to be able to stand right in front of the opponents because he had such confidence in his power.
He's moving just enough to disrupt some of Mayorga's offensive onslaught. But he took that right hand, which landed right down the pipe.
And he's taking Mayorga's punches very well now.
And he lands a right and a solid left hook. And Mayorga takes those punches and comes right back. Huge left hook by Mayorga. Tito walks right through it. At this moment, it's clear that Trinidad can take Mayorga's power. At least for the moment. Trinidad beginning to jab a little more often, exploring the boundaries of his technical advantage over Mayorga.
And he's smart. He's moving around the ring now, like Larry said. He's not going right after Mayorga, which is very smart.
Little movements with the feet, a refinement in Trinidad's game. Huge right hand.
Good shot.
Trinidad's glove touched the canvas, and there's the first knockdown of the fight. Properly ruled.
6, 7, 8,
Trinidad does not appear to be affected by the punch.
Not much at all.
Let's see if he'll retaliate. And if if Mayorga lost the first 2 rounds, he may have just evened the fight with that knockdown.
Yeah, but Trinidad just caught with a good left uppercut coming in, too.
Another big right hand. This time Mayorga misses over the top, and Trinidad a little short with the counter. Trinidad is landing his left hand as though it's a laser.
Beautifully.
Huge right hand coming under by Mayorga. Felix swings and misses with a big left hook. A knockdown in round 3 for Ricardo Mayorga.
That was a slip. Don't worry, kid, that's nothing. How you feeling? Everything fine? Don't jump around so much. Yeah. Come on, stand right in front of him and fight with him. Okay? He's looking for the knockout, but he's gonna get knocked out. He can't take your punches.
Here you see Mayorga go in with a left uppercut and an overhand right over the top, caught Tito clearly on the ear, and it knocked him pretty much off balance, but his glove did touch the canvas, so that is considered a knockdown. Once again, he came with the uppercut and the overhand right over the top. There was a shot behind his ear, but since his glove touched the canvas, that is considered a knockdown.
Roy, a lot of Mayorga's punches are landing on top of the ear, around the head. How much do those punches hurt?
Those are very effective punches because you usually don't see them coming, and they just seem to do something really, really bad to your equilibrium.
Harold, how do you have it scored through 3?
Okay, Jim, I think Ricardo Mayorga evened up the fight with the knockdown, even if it wasn't such a great knockdown. 28-28 in rounds 2 rounds to 1, Felix Trinidad. I thought Trinidad in rounds 1 and 2 kept them beautifully at the end of that long reach, just like he's doing now, and having it. Mayorga ties it up in the 3rd round with the knockdown.
Look at the accuracy of Trinidad's straighter, shorter punches.
And he's throwing beautiful straight punches tonight.
That's his big advantage against Mayorga. In a free swinging trade in the center of the ring, Felix's punches should get there first, but the big left hook lands for Mayorga. And now he loops another one around the guard. Trinidad nearly knocks his head off with a left hook.
Yeah, if Trinidad would just hit his body, he'd finish his fight real quick.
Neither fighter throws many body punches. Felix has done it more frequently in the past, but right now he's fighting Mayorga's fight, as almost everybody is tempted to do.
Mayorga is dead tired, though.
Well, I was about to ask you if maybe Trinidad was getting tired, because he limited himself to only throwing 13 power punches in round 3, a round in which Mayorga threw 43 of them. Felix is boxing more than we might have expected at this point in the fight. Big left hook by Mayorga.
And he's boxing very smartly here.
Big uppercut by Trinidad. Boy, Mayorga's got a beard and a half.
But he's dead tired, Jim. One body shot from Felix will really, really help him out.
When a guy has as much power as Trinidad has had over his career, he tends to become a headhunter.
That's not bad because he's landing some beautiful head shots tonight, but I mean, he can make it easier on himself if he goes to the body.
Is the 2.5-year layoff potentially a factor in his not remembering to throw the body shots?
No, he wasn't throwing body shots before he laid off.
All right. Can this fight go on at this pace for how long, and who gets affected first?
Mayorga would not last as long. All Tito had to do is not get caught by a surprisingly big shot, and he'll stop Mayorga later on in this fight. Mayorga's dead tired. Tito will remember sooner or later to go to the body.
And Mayorga already is losing power on his wide swinging shots, while Tito is mustering power on his straighter, shorter punches.
And Mayorga does not like his weight either. He doesn't fight well.
There's a body
punch, and it hurt Mayorga back.
I told you.
And he comes back with an uppercut.
But he's dead tired. He's dead tired.
It's Mayorga's instinct to fight when he's hurt, and that's why he came out swinging after Felix touched him up with the body punch.
This is one of the most amazing fights we've seen in a long time for fighters who are at the elite level of the sport.
But as they go to their corners, Roy Jones's observation is quite apt. Mayorga was exhausted before he sat on the stool.
Ricky, come on, champion. Relax. Relax. You gotta relax a little bit more. You gotta be able to get rid of those punches a little bit. You gotta be a little more relaxed. You gotta use the 1-2 and then the left uppercut. And the uppercut.
Here you see Tito come in the right hand lead, and now he throws the left liver shot, which we wish he'd been throwing earlier. And you can tell that shot hurt Mayorga. He pulled the arm down right to the spot and immediately backed out of the scene.
By and large, Roy, isn't it fair to say that body punches will hurt you more than head punches when properly landed?
Yes, they will, and they last for a longer period of time.
Power shots in round 4, according to CompuBox. Trinidad 20 out of 34. Again, 60%. Mayorga swung away for 52 power shots, but landed 20, 38%. Mayorga's losing a little steam on his punches. Trinidad is still throwing him short and straight.
Mayorga's not the same fighter at this weight as he is at 147, without a doubt. But he is game.
On Trinidad's 34 knockouts in his career, 30 were within 5 rounds. That's typical of most power punchers who get to their lesser opponents in a hurry. This opponent isn't as lesser as many others, but he's getting hit a lot.
But you don't see Trinidad rushing in trying to finish him, though, because he knows he's dangerous once he's hurt.
Great counter right-hand punch by Trinidad, stopping Mayorga in his tracks. Mayorga starting to back up now.
Trinidad now senses that Mayorga is ready to be taken, but Mayorga may have some other ideas.
Mayorga's exhaustion marked by the fact that he stood still momentarily against the ropes. Trinidad hit him with 2 straight right hands. Now they're trading again at center ring. Trinidad's activity level is going up, and Mayorga's is coming down.
Yeah, because Mayorga's tired. Like I said, he's not the same fighter at middleweight as he is at 47. But if Trinidad goes back to his body a couple more times, he'll get this fight over with.
You get the sense that if Mayorga was knocked down on the canvas, he'd beat the canvas.
He's definitely exhausted right now. The steam is about going out of his punches.
You wonder when Trinidad's going to go back to the body. He did so much damage with that one left-hand shot. Good left hook upstairs by Trinidad. But for a guy who's been away 2.5 years, he is sharp with counter punches.
He looks good. Looks very good for 2 years layoff.
Mayorga backing up, taking straight punches. Trinidad very selective, incredibly accurate. The accuracy with power punches is something amazing to behold. He's ripping Mayorga. Huge left hook. And now Mayorga begins to hold. A sure sign that he's taking more punishment than he wants. 10 seconds to go in the round. And Trinidad corners his man and tries to finish. Huge cut under Mayorga's left eye.
19,000 people on their feet.
What a fight.
Put the doctor in. Give me a doctor.
Ring doctor coming into the corner to look at Mayorga.
Take some air. Take some air now. Deep breath. You can't be taking those punches. You gotta be a little more. Use the 1-2. Come on, make sure you're strong and throw some punches.
And here's that left uppercut that Trinidad has been landing all night long. Mayorga cannot do nothing with that shot. There's that right hand. Trinidad looks so sharp and crisp with his combination tonight.
I don't know too many fighters who could have stood up to that barrage.
I don't know if I've ever seen a more accurate display of power punching in one round. Felix Trinidad was incredible in round 5. And he's smiling, and he's flexing his right arm as if to say, I'm the one who's got the power here. And Mayorga is in trouble as we go to the sixth.
Big trouble.
Ricardo Mayorga has just experienced the roughest round of his career. Trinidad landing the most punches and the most power punches ever landed against Mayorga in a CompuBox track round. And you can see how badly Trinidad has damaged the area under Mayorga's left eye.
Good straight right lead by Trinidad.
Again, notice how he's using his legs, going from one side of Mayorga to another. Roy, he's really had worked on something in these 2.5 years.
Yes, he has.
Trinidad has weathered the early storm. If Mayorga can continue to stand up under the barrage, the question then becomes, will he get a second wind of some sort? He hammers Trinidad with the right hand. Felix comes back with a big left.
That was a good trade. Yeah, he'll be gone soon, though. He's dead tired, Jim. There he is. He won't last much longer, I guarantee you.
Big left hook by Trinidad. Mayorga really feeling the effects of his punches.
Yeah, he won't last much longer. He's really gone now. A couple body shots to end
It
this.
looks like almost he can't hold his right hand hot to protect against those left hands.
He can't. That body shot got him worried.
Mayorga has never been on the canvas.
Well, he's going tonight.
He took a TKO in his pro debut, accumulated punishment. And he's still standing here, but the accumulation of punishment is ongoing once again.
Smoger's thinking about stopping it himself. He's looking at it very close now.
Smoger will let a fight go as long as he sees a chance for the fighter taking the punishment, and as long as the fighter is fighting back.
Smoger will let a fight go about as much as any referee we've seen.
Oh, that was a body shot that hurt him.
Mayorga is saying he got hit on the hip.
It looked that way, Jim.
And now there's an injury timeout. Trinidad has a long history of low blows.
That can help Mayorga because he can take as much as 5 minutes.
That won't help him because he's on the downside of this fight.
Is Mayorga acting to try to establish the effect of the punch?
I don't think he's necessarily acting. I'd like to see the punch again to see if it was low, but it won't help him none because he is in a world of trouble here tonight.
And that left eye closing fast. Here's another look.
Oh, yeah, there's a low blow.
We're on a 5-minute clock, according to referee Steve Smoger, as Mayorga gets a chance to recover from the low blow.
But for Mayorga, I think this hurts his eye, too, because now his eye gets a chance to swell even more.
Without the cut man getting a chance to work on it with the end swell.
Exactly.
The time off would be a lot different if the cut man could be at work. Instead, the eye just keeps on swelling.
I don't think he really wants a lot more, Jim.
He looks discouraged, and you don't often see Ricardo Mayorga with a discouraged look on his face.
But he's decided to come back before the 5 minutes are up. You may have to kill him to beat him.
Well, Tito's definitely trying to do that.
It looks as though Mayorga is going to make it out around 6. But Trinidad now has some extra rest to fuel his fire for the 7th.
Good combination
big
by
left
Mayorga.
hook by Mayorga. 2 right hands. And a body shot. And another right hand. And they trade shots after the bell.
I'll tell you what, I'll take him on my war team any day of the week.
There was a body shot in there that made Trinidad step back for a moment.
Take some water. Come on, water. Hey, when you go to... Yeah, you gotta be first. Yeah, don't let him take the initiative. You be first. Hey, Tito, the right hand, that's the power. That's it, the straight right hand. That's the good one. We got him now, we hurt him. Yeah, you got him. Sting him real good.
Another left uppercut by Tito. It was a grazing shot. but it was one of the same shots, boom, that leads to the left hook. And I think that shot truly hurt Mayorga.
How can you tell?
Again in the
Because
sixth
he
round.
stopped.
Again in the sixth round, Trinidad landed more than 60% of his power shots. What an amazing display of accurate power punching so far. Harold Letterman, how do you have it through 6?
Okay, Jim. 5 rounds to 1. 58-54. Tito Trinidad. Jim, in that round 5, he won it so big. I tell you, if a judge doesn't score that 10-8, I don't know when a judge will ever score it 10-8. So anyway, that'll make up for the knockdown. 58-54. 5-1, Trinidad. Mayorga arguing that Trinidad's holding him behind his head. Now he lands a big right hand. Another chopping right hand. The guy has a heart as big as Nicaragua.
Yes, he does. I'll tell you, he definitely could go to war with me any day of the week.
Hard right hand by Mayorga. Left hand is blocked. Look at him just firing away.
Right when you think he's finished, here he comes.
As the left eye closes up, Mayorga opens up again.
Well, you still think that little break didn't help Mayorga?
I don't know if it helped him or not. I don't think it helped his eye real, but
didn't hurt him.
No, it didn't hurt him.
We can agree there.
Well, more and more it appears there are 2 critical differences in the fight. Trinidad is a far better boxer, and Mayorga might not be a legitimate 160-pound fighter.
That's the biggest key factor here tonight. He's not a legitimate 160-pounder. But, like he said, for the right money, he'll do anything. He don't care. He fights for a living. That's simple.
He'll invite Lennox Lewis to come back.
Exactly right. Oh, good body shot by
Takes the right hand. And now Mayorga gets hit on the right side of the body again. And he thought he was going to get a low blow ruling from Smoger, and he didn't get it. And it gives Trinidad a couple free shots. And rest assured, Mayorga's going to fire back at some point. And he does.
You don't like these body shots, though, Joe. I don't know why Trinidad will go back.
What an uppercut. What a violent uppercut by
If
Trinidad.
he thinks he was really hit low, what he should do is hit back low.
No, he's saying he got hit in the back, though. He wasn't saying it was low. He said he got hit in the back.
All right. Then hit him in the back.
You're right.
Huge left hook by Trinidad. Stuns Mayorga. And now Mayorga is holding on.
For dear life. Tito is showing some true condition here himself tonight, Jim, because he's throwing a lot of big punches, and that takes a lot out of a fighter.
What a stunning fight. What an amazing 7 rounds of combat.
Come up after every round. I think we need him out of here.
Yeah, I'm here. Okay, you gotta pressure him. And if you have to hit him in the ball, hit him in the ball. Hey, if he hits you in the ball, hit him back in the ball. Yeah, this is not playing game. If he hits you in the ball, you hit him back. You gotta be first.
It's on his butt cheek, but it's a bad shot, and he can't walk away like that, but it is a bad shot. It was low, and it was on his butt cheek.
How painful is it to get hit hard on the hip?
Very painful, especially when you're as tired as these guys should be.
I would say that Trinidad's putting on a remarkable performance, not only in the fact that he seems to be winning the fight, but that he's fighting at this level of intensity after such a long layoff.
I think there are 2 remarkable performances going on. Trinidad is landing 60% of his punches, which is astonishing. Mayorga has thrown 512 punches, which is almost equally as astonishing.
Trinidad is not wasting much. He's being very economical tonight.
All-out attack from Mayorga.
Then he steals him a little punch on the leg.
Yeah, poke him a little there.
Just to let him know he's still here.
Body shot by Mayorga. Trinidad trying that uppercut, which has been so devastatingly accurate.
4 hooks by
with
Mayorga.
3 left hooks.
4. That was exceptional.
It's almost as if he's gotten his second win.
It does indeed appear that he's gotten his second win.
No, break.
In this round, for the first time, he's not only out-throwing Felix, out-landing him. But there, Trinidad stops it with 2 straight right hands.
Oh, good hook.
Oh, what a big left hook.
There he is.
That could be the beginning of the end.
That hurt him real
Mayorga
bad.
not throwing at all. Trinidad looking to finish. Look at Mayorga.
Oh.
Weathering the storm again. Trinidad hits him flush with an uppercut.
Oh, that's
what a
it.
body shot.
That's
What
the
a
body
brilliant
shot.
body shot.
I told you the body shot would have done it a long time ago.
Up at the count of 9.
A heart as big as Mexico.
I told you. And I told you the body shot would have finished the job a long time ago, Jim.
Desperate Ricardo Mayorga tries to unload the arsenal against Trinidad. Trinidad comes back. Mayorga's on the canvas a second time. Never on the canvas before, twice in this round. Trinidad was all the way up on the top rope in the neutral corner. Now he has to climb back down.
I told those body shots would do it, Jim.
No 3 knockdown rule in effect. Another savage left hook by Trinidad. Mayorga goes down for the 3rd time, and Steve Smoger is going to stop the fight.
Very smart call.
Stop
a
the fight
sensational knockout.
a few seconds before the 9th round.
I don't like you keep talking about the 9th round.
It's a 2-word headline, everybody. Tito's back. In round 8, Felix Trinidad closed the show, landing, are you ready? 39 out of 47 power shots. That's what you call target practice. Knockdown number 1.
He threw a left hook to the head. He came back. He threw a right uppercut. He leaned outside. He saw the body shot, so he's just going to take it. Right there. Boom. Good body shot. The shot I've been calling for all night. Knew once he landed that shot, that would be it. Here, Mayorga just hurt from an accumulation of punches, and the right hand, left hook kind of does the deal, but he's still trying to stay up, and he went down from a very short right hand again.
And then the 3rd time, Mayorga goes down to avoid further punishment. And that was probably enough to convince Smoger that, well, he's had enough.
And at this point, I think it was pretty evident that it was over. He was tired. He had no steam on his punches. He was just making it out of the way of the punches. Then, boom, there's a right hand and left uppercut again. The left uppercut was ferocious tonight. And he just went ahead and went down to avoid further punishment.
Is there a harder puncher pound for pound in the sport than Felix Trinidad?
I really don't think it is. And that would be another exceptional fight for Bernard Hopkins. He said he wants to make an impressive 20th defense. Here he goes.
Is there a smarter finisher in the sport than Felix Trinidad?
There's not a gutsier finisher in the sport than Felix Trinidad.
He took a lot of good shots from Ricardo Mayorga and finally got Mayorga to go down 3 times in the 8th round, the first 3 times in Ricardo Mayorga's career that he's tasted the canvas, and a resounding triumph for Felix Trinidad in his first fight back after a 2.5-year layoff.
And he took a big fight, a big chance.
Let's go to Michael Buffer for the official particulars on a sensational fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at Madison Square Garden, the combat has begun. Referee Steve Smoger steps in and calls a halt to this contest at 2 minutes, 39 seconds of round number 8. The winner by knockout victory, Damas y caballeros de Cupeoto, Puerto Rico, Felix, Trinidad.
Let's take a look at final CompuBox numbers for one of the most devastating displays of power punching in the recent history of the sport. Felix Trinidad landing 149 more punches, throwing 104 less. Look at the connect percentage. And Mayorga, sure, he's an easy target because his arms are wide and free and he's swinging, but you got to step up inside of all that to land those punches.
Yes, you do. That is for sure. Tito showed tonight what a little bit of rest can do for a good fighter.
Look at the power punch statistics. 218 out of 329. This is after a 2.5-year layoff against an opponent regarded as maybe the most dangerous opponent Trinidad could possibly have been in against in this situation. He lands 90 more power punches. He throws 62 less, selecting the ones that gave him a chance to land 2/3 of his power shots. Virtually incredible. Larry Merchant stands by with Felix Trinidad.
Thank you very much, Jim. Congratulations, Tito. Have you ever been in that sort of a long, tough, hard firefight?
¿Has estado tú en una pelea así larga y fuerte y difícil? Anterior, ¿has estado en otra pelea tan fuerte como esta?
Sí, he estado en peleas anteriores fuertes y gracias a Dios, pues, nuevamente otra pelea fuerte, pero dominé de principio a fin.
Yeah, I've been in tough long wars before, but I dominated this fight.
Were you surprised that he was able to take so many of your big punches?
¿Te sorprendió que él pudo aguantar tantos de los golpes fuertes que tú le dices?
Se sabe que es un peleador que aguanta muchos golpes. Se dejó dar de mí y aguantó los golpes, pero fue peor para él.
We know that he can take a good punch, and I get him a lot of punches, and he took a lot of my punches, but that was bad for him.
Early in the fight, he seemed to be on top of you. Were you determined to be patient so that your technique would prevail?
Temprano en la pelea, él fue agresivo y estuvo encima de ti. Tú fuiste paciente para poder agarrarlo más tarde, estar con calma.
Sí, ese era el plan de pelea y gracias a Dios nos salió bien todo. Mayorga es un peleador fuerte.
Yeah, that was our plan. We wanted to be cool, calm, and then our plan worked out perfectly.
Did he ever hurt you?
¿Alguna vez te hirió, te dolió?
Bueno, en realidad, la única caída, pero creo para mí que no fue caída, pero bueno, se contó y está bien, es válida.
Not really, but there was a knockdown, which wasn't really a knockdown, but it was called a knockdown, so it was legit.
You hit him many shots right on the head, but it seemed that the one shot you landed in the body was the beginning of the end. Did you see that
Tú le diste
coming?
muchos golpes en la cabeza, y de todos esos golpes que en la cabeza casi no le hacían nada, pero cuando le pegaste al cuerpo, ese fue el golpe. ¿Sabías tú que lo había dañado en eso?
Sí, en realidad pues la esquina me envió a que le pegara el cuerpo y así lo hice. Un peleador lastimado abajo, le das arriba y se acaba.
My corner told me to go to the body, and that's what I did, because I know that a body shot will hurt you.
It surprised a lot of people that you were able to fight at such an intense pace after a 2.5-year layoff. Did you ever feel that this was just sprinting instead of running a marathon, which you have done?
Le sorprendió a mucha gente que tú pudiste sostener una pelea como la hiciste, pero es como tú, un atleta que eres, que en sprint tú sabías que podías mantener ese ritmo.
Sí, sabía que iba a poder mantener el ritmo y gracias a Dios, a mi disciplina, puedo hacer lo que hice.
Yeah, I knew that I can keep that pace up, and thanks to my discipline, I did what I did.
Were you a different fighter after 2.5 years away than you were when you fought Hopkins, and in what way?
¿Eres tú un peleador diferente después de 2 años y medio de tu retiro, de cuando peleaste con Hopkins? Y si es así, ¿en qué forma?
Bueno, en realidad pues practicamos bastante el boxeo, llavear, moverme hacia los lados, y soy un peleador completo. diferente y completo.
We practice a lot. We went for the techniques, the bobbing and weaving, moving side to side. I'm a complete fighter.
Who does this complete fighter prefer to fight next? Would you want to get revenge against Bernard Hopkins, or would you want to get presumably the biggest money against Oscar De La Hoya?
¿Con quién quisiera este boxeador completo pelear próximamente? ¿Quisieras una venganza contra Hopkins o quisieras más dinero pelear con Oscar De La Hoya?
Bueno, en realidad, y como le dije, he dicho anteriormente, voy a ir a reunirme con Don King y le diré qué es lo próximo para mí. El que venga, yo le voy a ganar.
Like I said before, we're going to get together with Don King, and whoever it is, we'll let you know.
Thank you and congratulations again, Tito.
Un mensaje, por favor, si
Yeah, he
puedo.
wants to send a message.
Quiero enviar un mensaje a toda mi familia allá en Puerto Rico.
To all the family in Puerto Rico.
Quiero también enviar un saludo a toda la gente de Florida que están viendo esta pelea, a todos ustedes.
All everybody in Florida, they're watching this fight.
Y por último, enviarle un saludo a toda mi gente de San Tomás, Ángel,
And then all the people in St.
a Roberto y a Julian Jackson.
And Julian Jackson. Angel also.
Thank you very much, Tito, again.
Saludos, Diepa. Saludos, Diepa,
Jim.
también a ti.
All right, and here's a look at Ricardo Mayorga, who elected to leave the ring without being interviewed by our Larry Merchant. Mayorga disappointed and perhaps a bit battered after taking all those punches from Trinidad. Perhaps an intelligent choice to just move on back to the locker room where doctors will examine him. After all, what do you say? Well, you heard Larry Merchant asking Tito the critical question about a potential rematch with Bernard Hopkins. 3 years ago, Roy, Tito did not seem big enough or good enough to box with Bernard Hopkins. Could it be different now?
Yes, it could be different now. The layoff did him good. It recharged his body, gave him a chance to regroup, get himself back together. It's very difficult to stay at the top of this game and maintain for so many years without giving yourself a break. People don't realize when you're on top of your game, you got to be on top of your game. You don't get time to rest. So when he fell to Hopkins, he went and took some time out and rested, got himself back together. Tonight, he looks better than I've seen him in the last 6 years, I think.
And how amazing is that in light of the 2.5-year layoff?
That's really very amazing, but it goes to show you that the layoff was something that was a necessity for Trinidad. So that shows fighters that sometimes you got to lay off and give yourself a break. You can't go at that constant pace and just continuously go and go and go. You kill yourself.
And if all of this should lead ultimately to a second battle between Hopkins and Trinidad, certainly Larry Merchant, Trinidad gave Bernard something to think about with the display of greater boxing skills in the second half of this fight.
Jim, the only near parallel I can draw to what Tito did tonight is that he retired at the age of 29 of his own accord, which is almost unprecedented in boxing, and came back 2.5 years later and showed that he may have many of his best, biggest fights still ahead of him. Sugar Ray Robinson at the age of 31 took a couple of years off, hoping to become an entertainer, came back and had many of the great fights of his career. So while other giants are retiring and defeated, it looks like Tito will be here for a while to give us more thrills and spills.
The stars have been retiring or falling. Lennox Lewis said goodbye to the sport. Tito Trinidad for a while was gone. Oscar De La Hoya got knocked out by Bernard Hopkins. Roy Jones got knocked out twice. The adulation you heard and felt in this arena tonight suggested the degree to which boxing may need Felix Trinidad to come back and be great. He rose dramatically to this occasion. And Bob Costas, I know the Ryder Cup is exciting, but this was really something, wasn't it?
I think, with all due respect to my friends at NBC, this was a bit more exciting tonight. And Jim Lampley put it well with De La Hoya and Roy Jones Jr. in eclipse, at least for the moment. Boxing fans waiting for a new star or the return of an old star. Ring rust? What ring rust? What a performance.
It was a great performance. A lot of fireworks in there. Felix Trinidad really showed the world, you know, if a guy's strong in the head, that means he's weak in the body. If he's strong in the body, that means he's weak in the head. But he went about his game in tremendous fashion today. He did what he does naturally, and that's box. He's a superior boxer, and that's what really showed today. And, you know, I always pick the boxer over the puncher.
You must give Ricardo Mayorga credit for standing in there and taking it and scarcely ever backing up. Almost anybody else would have gone out much sooner. But the night belonged to Trinidad. He was awesome in terms of how sharp he was.
I tell you what, the two years layoff really did a good job with him, because he really sat back and watched other boxers perform, and I guess he was sitting back on TV and watching Mayorga and say, I can beat him. You know, this guy's not a boxer. I need to be up there, and that's what really got him back, and he definitely heard the roar of the crowd today.
In the ring after the fight, Larry Merchant posed the question. He had put it a bit differently when we met with the fighters yesterday. He said, do you take on Hopkins, a man who has beaten you, the only man to beat you, for $12 million? This is assuming the victory, which then ensued over Mayorga. Do you take on Hopkins for $12 million, or do you go for maybe $20 million and try and beat De La Hoya again? And Trinidad was coy, which I guess is appropriate, and said, in effect, what he said in the ring. Yeah. We'll wait and see. We'll let you know.
We will.
Now, of course, if it is Hopkins, and that is probably the one that boxing fans would most like to see, there is the little problem of the relationship between Bernard Hopkins and Don King, and legal proceedings which are pending. But in boxing, those things have a way of working themselves out if the fight is there and there's money to be made.
The thing that really separates that, oh, that can get everything together, it's just money. That solves all problems.
Did the roar of the crowd make you that much more likely to come back tonight?
I tell you, it felt good, and you know, for all boxers out there that's given up their sport, it's definitely a reminder of what used to happen. But it didn't really do too much to me. But all those roars were for Felix Trinidad, and he deserved it tonight.
Champ, great working with you.
Thank you.
All right, Lennox Lewis. And before we leave you tonight, another program reminder about this fall on HBO pay-per-view.
It's a heavyweight night. Chris Byrne defends his crown against giant Jamil McLeod. Andrew Galata's out to take down Jean Ruiz. Top contender Hasim Rahman against bone crusher Cali Meehan. Plus four-time champ Evander Holyfield. Byrne versus McLeod, Ruiz versus Galata, Rahman versus Meehan, and Holyfield versus Donald. Saturday, November 13th, live on pay-per-view. Contact your pay-per-view provider to order. One historic rivalry.
Another right hand by Morales, and another left hook from Morales.
One victory apiece.
There is no pretense of defense in this way.
One chance to settle the score.
This is what it's all about. Pride, honor, revenge.
Morales Pereira 3, once and for all. Saturday, November 27th, live on pay-per-view. Contact your pay-per-view provider to order.
Here comes Morales. Here comes Pereira.
And earlier tonight at the Garden, the 8 heavyweights involved in that November 13th card were in the ring, along with Don King, so the fans could get a look at them and have their appetites whetted for that big night. Trinidad versus Mayorga tonight has been brought to you by HBO Pay-Per-View, the best in pay-per-view entertainment, brought to you by HBO. We'd like to thank our internet partners as well, and the following magazine partners. And so, for Jim Lampley, Larry Merchant, Roy Jones Jr., Lennox Lewis, and our entire crew, this is Bob Costas. Great night tonight at the Garden. So long from New York, everybody.